musical stylings have emerged. Black Wall Street and the white neighborhoods of Tulsa were separated. Some white people resented that this nearby black community was doing so well. This made things very dangerous for Greenwood's black people. On prom night, before Venice Sims got to slip into her beautiful blue dress, violence erupted in her neighborhood. White rioters began a brutal attack against the black people in town. She heard men shouting, guns firing. All of a sudden, her dad was shouting to her, "There's a race riot. It's time to go." Only 24 hours later, little of Black Wall Street was left standing. A massacre is when lots of innocent people are murdered and their property destroyed. That's what happened in Greenwood. That's why this terrible event is known as the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. It was one of the worst instances of racial violence in U.S. history. Chapter 1. The Promise of Oklahoma. In the late 19th century, some parts of Tulsa, as well as other places now part of the state of Oklahoma, were becoming known as safe havens for black families, places where they could make new and better lives. For decades, there had been black people living in Oklahoma. They first came as enslaved people, but also as never enslaved black native people of 5 tribal nations of Native Americans: the Chickasaw, Seminole, Cherokee, Choctaw, and Creek. These tribal nations had been living in the southeastern United States, but were forced from their native lands by President Andrew Jackson. 100,000 Native Americans had to move west, to what was called Indian Territory. Some Native Americans brought with them enslaved black people who were freed after the Civil War ended. Many remained in Oklahoma. Their children and their children's children often started their own towns. Between the end of the Civil War and 1920, more than 50 black townships had sprung up. 13 of these towns remain today. Ida E. Glenn. Ida E. Glenn, a citizen of the Creek Nation with her husband Robert, owned land just south of Tulsa. Their land turned out to be very special because under it there was oil, lots of it. The sort of oil that could heat homes and run cars after it was refined. In 1905, Ida and Robert were paid $45, which would be almost $1,400 today, for a lease to their land. They also received part of the money made from the oil drilled on it. The surrounding land was named after them, Glenpool. It's a town that stands even today. This is only one example of the good fortune black people in Oklahoma found. From 1865 to 1877, the United States government carried out programs to help roughly 4 million newly freed people in the South, as well as in Indian Territory. This period of history is known as Reconstruction, but attempts to make life better for black people were seen by many white people as unfair. Black people were able to go to school for the first time during the Reconstruction era. White politicians and voters soon passed laws to make life as hard as possible for black people. For example, certain laws made it essentially impossible for black people in the South to vote or get good jobs. Because of this, many black people in the 1880s, 1890s, and early 1900s decided to leave the South behind. Many ended up relocating to Oklahoma and Kansas. In 1906, a wealthy black landowner named O.W. Gurley bought 40 acres of land in Tulsa and named the area Greenwood. He sold some of this land to other black people who built homes and businesses. Oil was discovered in Oklahoma in the late 1890s. Oil still impacts our lives today. It fuels our cars, heats our homes, and even creates the asphalt for paving our roads. Soon, Tulsa became known as the oil capital of the world. People came to work in the oil fields. Those people also needed barbershops, grocery stores, restaurants, and more. Because of oil, the city of Tulsa grew rapidly. The city's population rose from 18,000 in 1910 to 140,000 by 1930. The Exodusters. Exodusters was a name given to black people who had lived primarily in Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, and Texas before deciding to move west. Soon after the end of Reconstruction, they moved to Kansas, Oklahoma,